Leafs Nation has been living through days of uncertainty, but also hope. The team is enduring a tough stretch of games, trying to find itself amid lineup changes and the search for an identity that still hasn't appeared early in the season. But not everything is heavy news. There's a breath of relief coming from the ice. Scott Laughton is about to skate again. After weeks away due to injury, the 31-year-old veteran is finally set to test the ice again, reigniting a spark inside the locker room. Meanwhile, the silence surrounding Joseph Woll continues to weigh on the fans. The goaltender, out for personal reasons, still has no return date, and head coach Berube keeps the mystery alive. No updates, no timeline, no direct contact. And when it comes to Toronto, silence always speaks louder than words. To complete the picture, off the ice, Mitch Marner's name still echoes, and the shadow of his departure continues to hover over the team. There's a missing piece in the attack, and rumors point to a possible push for Adrian Kempe, the Kings winger and a 30-goal scorer, who could bring back the spark Toronto has been missing. Could this be the move that reignites the blue and white fire? The mood is mixed. Hope with Laughton, mystery with Woll, and anticipation with the possible arrival of Kempe. It's the kind of storyline only Leafs Nation truly understands, where the ice is never just ice, and every piece of news hits straight in the heart of the fan base. Drop a like and leave your thoughts, Leafs Nation, because this space belongs to those who feel every game like it's a final, those who live the blue and white for real. News 1. The state of the team is pure tension. The Toronto Maple Leafs are trying to find themselves amid a season that began without direction. The lines change every game, the chemistry hasn't clicked, and the fans feel like the team is groping in the dark, looking for an identity that still hasn't appeared on the ice. Berube has been shuffling lines like someone trying to solve a puzzle with mismatched pieces. And in the middle of it all, a spark of hope begins to appear. Scott Laughton, who's been out since the second to last preseason game, is finally set to return to the ice. Ever since he blocked that shot against the Detroit Red Wings on October 2nd, he's been limited, wearing a walking boot and away from skating. But now, after weeks of uncertainty, the coach confirmed, "I think he'll be on the ice tomorrow." That's what Berube said, and that alone was enough to reignite the mood inside the locker room. Laughton was brought to Toronto at last season's trade deadline, a bet on character, intensity, and versatility. He didn't come to be a star. He came to be the type of player who holds a group together when the ice starts to crack. And symbolically, his return comes just when the team needs that kind of presence most. Toronto's fourth line has been completely unstable, and each new combination feels more like a lab test than a battle-ready trio. And what came next, no one expected, because Laughton's return could trigger a domino effect. Berube already hinted he's thinking about even more changes, possibly fixing William Nylander alongside Austin Matthews and Matthew Knies on the top line. That would mean another shakeup in the offense, opening a spot for Laughton to resume the role originally envisioned for him, balancing the bottom six with energy, experience, and physical play. The coach's words showed how much this group is in constant adaptation. And more than that, they revealed a sliver of hope amid the chaos. Laughton's return is symbolic. It's not just a player coming back. It's proof that the team still believes in the process, still wants to find the right chemistry. But is his presence alone enough to rebalance a roster that seems to change every night? Behind the scenes, there's an interesting feeling, relief. Seeing Laughton skate again is like watching an essential piece of the puzzle fall back into place. He's respected, he's a voice in the locker room, and the fact that he was acquired for a high price, a conditional first-round pick and promising prospect Nikita Grabenkin, shows how much Toronto believes in him. The fans reacted with a mix of optimism and caution. Because let's face it, the Leafs have lived through the storyline before. An injured player returns, morale improves, but inconsistency remains. Still, seeing Laughton on the ice feels like seeing the blue and white breathe again. And when we look at the bigger picture, his return represents more than just a lineup change. It represents the team's effort to find itself again, to go back to being the Leafs that command respect, that play with an edge, and don't lose themselves in constant adjustments. It feels like the same turbulence Toronto has faced before, but at the same time, something feels different. There's a sense that maybe, just maybe, this group is tighter than it looks. And for Leafs Nation, that's enough to reignite the flame. because being a fan of this team means believing until the very last shift. News 2. The Joseph Woll situation is different. It's quiet, unsettling, and deeply human at the same time. Out since the preseason for personal reasons, the 27-year-old goaltender still hasn't returned to the ice, and the silence around his absence has become one of the biggest mysteries of the Toronto Maple Leaf season. The team, already going through instability on the ice, now deals with an absence that goes far beyond sports. When asked, Berube was direct and cold. "I have no update for you on Joe right now. He's fine. When he's ready, he'll be back." No details, no timeline, no direct contact with the player. That, in itself, says a lot. The mood is one of unease. Toronto opened the season relying on Anthony Stolarz and Caden Primo to hold down the crease. And while Stolarz has been solid, there's no denying that wasn't the original plan. Woll was expected to be the 1B, the future in net, the guy who finally looked ready to take part of the starting load, something the Leafs have sought for years. But what came next, no one expected. With Woll away and Berube in the dark, the locker room closed ranks. No player speaks. No reporter gets new info. It's the kind of situation that leaves fans torn between worry and respect. Because while everyone wants answers, there's an understanding that the organization is protecting something personal, something beyond the public eye. Berube's restrained comments and the team's silence show that Toronto is prioritizing the human side, even if that means withholding answers. "He's fine," the coach repeated, and that was it. But the absence is starting to take its toll. Stolarz has carried almost every start, and Primo, still inexperienced, has barely seen action. It's a heavy load, especially in a season that would already be challenging with Woll active. Even Stolarz himself recently expressed frustration, not at his teammate, but at the situation. "We just have to keep competing. That's all we can do." And the fans feel it. Social media is full of unanswered questions. Is he coming back? What happened? Why won't anyone say anything? The lack of transparency fuels anxiety, and the Leafs, perhaps deliberately, choose silence over speculation. But on the ice, the impact is obvious. Woll's absence affects the rotation, the goaltender's rest, and even defensive confidence. Toronto needs stability and doesn't have it. And when a team's quietest pillar disappears, the group feels it, even if it won't say it. There's a sharp contrast here. Laughton returning and reigniting hope. Woll gone, leaving a void. One symbolizes rebuilding, the other uncertainty. Together, they define the Leafs' current state. A team trying to balance what it has with what it's lost. And maybe that's what resonates most with Leafs Nation. Because beyond stats or standings, what's really on the line is emotion. The feeling of watching your team wrestle with vulnerability. Something rare in hockey and even rarer in Toronto. In the end, the silence around Woll speaks louder than any statement. News 3. We're at the start of the 2025-26 season, and the feeling in Toronto is that something is still missing. Mitch Marner is gone, and the void he left still echoes behind the scenes. Management preaches patience. The coach talks about adjustments, but Leafs Nation feels that what's missing is that one name, that one talent who can make opponents fear them again. The market was too quiet this summer. No big trade, no explosive headlines, and the fans are growing restless. But now, with training camps approaching, the atmosphere is changing. That's when rumors start to swirl, and one from heavy sports caught attention. Adrian Kempe, the Kings winger, could be Toronto's ideal target. Journalist Nestor Quickston floated the idea. Leafs receive Adrian Kempe. Kings receive Bobby McMann, Nick Robertson, and a 2027 second-round pick. At first glance, it seems bold, but it also makes sense. Kempe is exactly the kind of player that fits the DNA Toronto is trying to rebuild. A 30-goal scorer with speed, strength, and intensity. A player who doesn't disappear in the playoffs. On the contrary, he elevates his game. With 29 points in 28 postseason games, his numbers would make any NHL GM hesitate before letting him go. And what came next, no one expected. The proposal split opinions. On one side, those who believe Toronto needs to act now, before another season starts with an incomplete roster. On the other, those who fear giving up two young wingers like Robertson and McMann for a player who might not even be truly available. Los Angeles still want to keep Kempe, but extension talks have stalled, and that's where Toronto could sneak in. This idea strikes an emotional chord with fans because it touches the wound left by Marner's exit. Since he left, Toronto hasn't filled that creative, offensive gap. The team has tried to compensate with depth and tactical tweaks, but there's no spark. No player who changes a game with a single shift. And Kempe might be exactly that. A physically imposing winger who commands respect and has the scoring touch this team desperately needs. Behind the scenes, the debate is hot. Some analysts believe trading Robertson, a talented but inconsistent young forward, would be risky. Others say the Leafs can't keep living off potential. They need immediate production, and Kempe provides that. The fan base, as always, is divided. Some are yelling, "Enough waiting, make it happen," while others fear repeating past mistakes, giving up the future for short-term gain. But deep down, every Toronto fan knows the window is short, and every season without a bold move is another missed chance at what the city has waited nearly 6 decades to see. And in the context of Leafs culture, that means everything. Toronto has always carried the weight of almost. Maybe it's time to turn the page, to take the risk, to bring in someone who changes the rhythm. Adrian Kempe could be that gamble. Would it be bold? Absolutely. But being a Leaf means believing in the impossible, even when the ice seems to collapse beneath you. Toronto is living the kind of turbulence only Leafs Nation understands. A roller coaster between hope and frustration, silence and anticipation. 3 different stories, all tied together by the same emotional thread. The blue and white heart still beats strong, even when the team seems out of sync. Scott Laughton returning to the ice is the symbol of resilience. The veteran who blocked a shot, left on crutches, and now prepares to lace up again. He represents the spirit of those who don't give up, who understand that wearing this jersey means carrying the weight of an entire city. Joseph Woll, on the other hand, shows the human side of the sport. His absence, wrapped in silence, teaches that not everything needs to be explained. Sometimes, the greatest act of support is giving space. And even away from the ice, Woll's name still echoes, because Leafs Nation never forgets its own. And above all, the Adrian Kempe rumor reignites that old flame of anticipation. Toronto always dreams big, always wants more. And even if the trade remains just speculation, it reminds fans of something vital. The team is still trying, still searching for the right fit, the missing piece, the chemistry that turns hope into results. Together, these stories paint the perfect picture of what it means to be a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, to live between the cold of the ice and the warmth of belief. Because being a Leaf means believing, even when the ice is breaking. It means shouting when the team falls silent. It means never giving up, because one day, the wait will be worth it. Leave your thoughts in the comments, Leafs Nation, and drop a like to show that this passion never freezes.